is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Tasmanian Parliament remains locked in debate tonight over the third euthanasia bill to come before the lower house. Hundreds turned out to rally for the controversial legislation with hopes of inspiring a true conscience vote.
A rally calling for compassion. Andrew Irving, one of hundreds showing support for the voluntary assisted dying bill. His wife Marilyn passing just last Wednesday after 5 weeks of suffering in palliative care.
She should never have been allowed to linger. So this is very raw for me.
The bill, co-sponsored by Greens leader Cassie O'Connor and former Premier Larry Giddings, is the third to come before the lower house in 10 years. Hopes the strengthened legislation and moves towards euthanasia made interstate will encourage a true conscience debate.
We cannot continue to deny the fact that people, because of the lack of a safe framework, are making the decision to end their own lives and die lonely, terrible deaths. This is a reform whose time has well and truly come.
Previous debates have seen no Liberal members support the bill. Yesterday, the Premier was still undecided.
I'm still, quite seriously working through a number of issues with the legislation. I have an open mind to matters like this which come before our Parliament.
It's believed 2 Labor members will vote against the bill. Michelle O'Byrne, at least one of the party members, in support.
Almost every survey that you see shows an increasing number of people saying that if you are in intolerable pain that we cannot take away, that we shouldn't be making you suffer through the last days of your life.
Tasmania's Anglican bishop claiming the very existence of the legislation puts the lives of vulnerable people at risk. Concerns with how eligibility can be defined despite the requirement of specialist diagnosis and 2 doctors' signatures.
And it captures people who are elderly, it captures people who are disabled, because it's a medical condition that can't be treated, and a medical condition for which there is intolerable suffering, and that covers lots and lots of different things.
The Parliament debate is expected to continue into the night. Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
Tasmania's ailing health system has again been raised in state parliament, just a day out from the government's 4th and final budget. But amid the opposition's calls for a health fix, Labor was challenged to provide its own comprehensive financial plan.
The opposition.
A sombre mood to start question time as condolences were made to the families of yesterday's horrific Manchester terror attack.
This is indeed another attack on our freedoms, our way of life, and I extend Tasmania's heartfelt sympathy.
I do want to extend our hearts to the people of Manchester.
The fact that many of the victims were children is heartbreaking, and I can hardly bear to think about how their parents are feeling right now.
But sympathy soon turned to frustration. The state opposition grilling the government on continued concerns around patient safety at the Royal Hobart Hospital.
Concerns of doctors over the number of deaths at the Royal Hobart Hospital could not be more serious. And that is why we are asking these questions.
I won't concede to Ms White's attempt that she's trying to scare people that the health system is unsafe.
Tasmania's ailing health system also reaching federal parliament.
Waiting times are the longest of any state. For example, 946 days for urgent gastro and liver appointments. And doctors tell me patients are dying while waiting for treatment.
Health investment is expected in tomorrow's budget. The government today talking up its own financial planning.
Balanced budgets, Madam Speaker, investing sensibly and responsibly into health, education and infrastructure. On that side of the House, a direction statement, whatever that means.
We will be responding to the budget on Tuesday, and Rebecca White will be making a substantive contribution not only on what we view of the government's budget, but where we think things could be done differently.
Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
A 14-year-old Tasmanian boy has been arrested and charged with armed robbery for allegedly holding up a Newnham petrol station brandishing a knife overnight. Police say the teenager entered the store just before 9:30.
It is very concerning. Obviously, we don't want youths offending, we don't want anyone offending, but it is alarming that a 14-year-old has seen fit to enter a service station armed with a knife.
The teen allegedly demanded cash and cigarettes and then fled on foot.
And there were no real physical threats, if you can understand what I mean by that. There were no knife or anything. We're not alleging any knife was held to his throat or anything like that.
The petrol station attendant was unharmed in the incident, but police say he was traumatised. And police are again reminding tradies to lock up their tools and make sure they can be identified if they are stolen. The call comes after an estimated $25,000 worth of goods were seized from an Invermay property earlier this week. A 24-year-old Launceston man has been charged with being in possession of stolen property and has been bailed to appear in court at a later date. Most of the tools are believed to have been stolen off the back of utes from around the Invermay area. The Salvation Army has officially launched this year's Red Shield Appeal, helping Tasmanians from all walks of life who are doing it tough. The charity says it hopes to raise around $250,000 from this year's fundraising drive, with all proceeds staying in the state. And for those of us who aren't carrying change, the Salvos are now offering tap and go services at a number of collection points.
We have indeed the state government, who has already...
There's a real choice that many families in Tasmania are facing between, do I buy food for my family or do I pay the rent? And while that might surprise us, it is a choice that many of our people that have come to us for support are facing.
The annual Red Shield door knock is scheduled for this weekend. Tasmanian teenagers are getting a heads up on how they can score jobs in the state's booming tourism industry. Around 160 students heard from business owners at Riverside's Tail Race Centre today, learning what it's like to work in the industry and finding out what employers look for in staff.
The reason people know of our state is because of our tourism products, and so to have a strong group of young people wanting to support this long term and being the future workforce is so powerful for this industry, and it just helps build everything that we love about Tasmania.
The students also heard hundreds of new jobs are being created in the state due to increasing tourist demand. Tasmanian supermarket staff have been caught tampering with promotional toys offered to children. Marvel superhero discs, which are being snapped up online, are meant to be given to shoppers buying from Woolworths. But now they're attracting attention from the employees themselves.
Forget fidget spinners, these Marvel superhero discs are the latest children's craze. They're given out at Woolworths across the country, one disc for every $20 you spend. As people try to complete their set, some discs are going up online. This one of the Hulk was on sale today for $60. But here's the thing, you can see what's inside through the wrapper when it's held up to light. And our cameras caught a staff member at a Tasmanian Woolworths doing just that, sifting through a box of the discs and putting different ones back in different areas. The situation infuriating shoppers.
It's not good for the little kids that do, have them and stuff. It's not fair on them.
There shouldn't be rare ones.
All in all, there are 42 of these superhero discs to collect. But shoppers have told us there are 6 in particular which are the hardest to come by and which are fetching the highest prices online.
Pretty much every 6, so like your 6, your 12, your 18, up to 42.
In a statement, Woolworths says the promotion is incredibly popular and that it takes any concerns relating to their handling seriously. The company says it has spoken with staff at the store in question and is investigating the sale of the discs online.
Very, very disappointed. There's kids out there that want them, and to do that is just selfish.
The promotion winds up next week. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
It's not every day that more than 500,000 Australian children read the same book at exactly the same time. But today, that's what happened. The National Simultaneous Storytime, aiming to encourage our youngest generation to fall in love with reading.
A bedtime tradition turned into a national event. Right across Tasmania as the clock struck 11 in the morning, thousands of children listened in as guests read the same book at the same time, but at different locations.
Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon.
props were used to help tell Tony Wilson and Laura Wood's book. And while the Storytime brought smiles to the young at heart, it also had a serious side. The annual event aiming to inspire children to engage in the joy of reading from an early age.
When you get them young, you've got them for life. And we know how important reading is to living and being. So that's why we do this.
Reading to children is bringing them knowledge, but bringing it in such a playful and enjoyable way that the very play itself actually helps to embed and lock down that knowledge so that it's with them forever.
The bond reading can bring parents and their children also celebrated.
What did you think of the cow story? Good.
Last year, more than 500,000 Australian children took part in the National Storytime, including 1,000 here in Tasmania. This year's figure is expected to be even better.
This has been going on, I think, now for nearly 17 years, so it's just growing every year.
The simultaneous Storytime proving reading never goes out of fashion. Monique Dadson at Southern Cross News.
Young Tasmanian health workers are being encouraged to consider a career in palliative care. At a special ceremony for staff today, the head of Palliative Care Tasmania says experienced workers are speaking to those new to the industry about the sector's benefits.
Using that knowledge and using those people and their experiences to help educate the communities right across the state about what palliative care is and what rewards people can get.
Around 1,200 people work and volunteer in the sector across Tasmania. Today's event has been held as part of National Palliative Care Week. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has closed slightly higher, while the Aussie dollar is weaker following a credit downgrade for China. The ASX 200 index has risen by 8.8 points. Short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 74.56 US cents and 106.41 New Zealand cents. Hobart Chargers coach Anthony Stewart says this Friday's match against Nunawading will be his team's biggest test of the Seabull season so far. And the game will no doubt have a little extra spice on court, with former Chargers captain Tom Wright set to line up against his former club.
Stewart was talking down the star power of the former Hobart captain.
Tom who? Don't know him. Have I met him?
He used to play for your team last year.
He couldn't have been very good if he didn't keep him.
But jokes aside, he admits the Chargers will have to bring their A game to defeat a team that's strong all over the court.
We'll push the ball, we'll try and knock down threes like we did last week, and if we catch fire, I think everyone saw what we can do last week, and I don't think there's any team in this competition that can stop us on our night.
The Chargers women's team are also on top, with Kathleen Shear continuing her dominance. But coach Dwayne Davies says his team is prepared if Nunawading shut down the star import.
Izzy Morgan and Emma Dennis and Alex Finlayson are just those bona fide sort of local players for us, bona fide Seabull players now that they're really stepping up and giving us some experience and some steady hands there.
Meanwhile, the Launceston Tornadoes will spend their Friday night in Geelong before returning home for the Spectres. The match against the Wildcats expected to be an intriguing arm wrestle, with both sides enjoying a red-hot run of form.
To get that win without Lauren in the weekend was a huge step up. Some of the young girls have really stepped up, and training has been, well, definitely the best training that we've had since I've been here, and the girls said it's been one of the best trainings of the year, so hopefully that carries over to the game in the weekend.
Andrew McCarthy, Southern Cross News.
The Hobart Zebras are welcoming back one of its favourite sons after the sudden departure of former coach Peter Saville. Tommy Fotak confirming today that he's returning to the fold as senior coach after vacating the role in 2013. He'll inherit a team that was struggling for consistency in recent weeks, but still remains in touch of the ladder leaders.
We didn't end on bad terms before. And I guess even if I was sacked, I'd always willing to put my hand up. That club put me through the coaching courses. I spent a good few years there playing, won premierships there, so I feel like I owe them a little bit. So hopefully I can pay them back this year.
Fotak says 3 members of his new squad remain under injury clouds after Sunday's bruising Lacasselle Jack Cup loss against Olympia.
Good evening. A cold front crossed the state today, bringing showers with the odd thunderstorm in the north. Hobart and Launceston both reached a top of 16. It was 15 degrees in Burnie and Devonport. St Helens had the state's high of 17 degrees. It was 16 at Friendly Beaches, 15 on the Bass Strait Islands, 14 at Grove, Strawn and Bushy Park, and 7 degrees at Lyoini. The satellite images show patchy low-level cloud over the southeast of the mainland and a band of frontal cloud in the Tasman moving away from Tasmania. On the close-up, extensive low-level convective cloud covering the western half of the state, with patchier cloud elsewhere. Looking ahead to tomorrow, a front will cross Tasmania through the day, with another front developing to the southwest of Western Australia. A ridge of high pressure will continue to cover much of the mainland. Northwest to southwesterly winds 15 to 25 knots, increasing from the west through the day. Swells to 3 metres in the west and south. And there's a strong wind warning for southern, western and northern coastal waters from Tasman Island to St Helens Point, and a small craft wind alert for the southwest and central plateau lakes. A shower or two for Hobart tomorrow, 17 degrees, Cygnet 15, New Norfolk 16. Launceston, a possible shower with a top of 16, showers and 16 for Devonport, Campbelltown 15. Burnie and Smithton, showers 16 degrees, Strawn 15. Partly cloudy and 17 for St Helens and Swansea, Fingal 16. Now let's take a look ahead to the end of the week. Showers about the west and far south on Friday, mostly clearing in the afternoon, fine around the rest of the state. Saturday, showers about the north and west, tending to rain in the afternoon and extending statewide through the evening. Rain easing to showers on Sunday, contracting to the west and south by the afternoon, snowfalls lowering to 800 metres. And now let's take a look around the country tomorrow. Mostly sunny for Perth, Darwin and Brisbane, a sunny day for Sydney, a shower or two for Adelaide and partly cloudy for Melbourne with a late shower. And right now in Hobart it's 12 degrees and cloudy, Launceston 9 and clear, Devonport 10 and clear. It looks like we've got a few wet days ahead, Jo.
Oh, it does, Britt. What a shame. Oh, well, thanks so much for that. Well, that's all from the news team. Thanks for joining us. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.